Simon, I'm from Rotorua Lakes Council. Hey, and look, we've just been through a plan change process, recently made operative in March of this year, to incorporate our new Papakāinga rules. I'll just go through our journey and our learnings through that process. So we ran our plan change process in parallel with our future development strategy, and we did an extreme amount of engagement with mana whenua through that process. And one of the key messages that came out of that engagement through the FDS was, hey, look, mana whenua in Rotorua have aspirations to develop their land, and we have as you can imagine, in Rotorua we have a large number of whenua Māori in our district, and I guess mana whenua made it very clear that they have aspirations to develop their land going forward. As I said, we recently had a plan change, PC9 that we called it, which was our Housing for Everyone plan change. It was basically, it started out as basically a way for us to incorporate the medium density residential standards, and part of us being included in that bill, the minister also asked us to consider our current Papakāinga provisions. So we took the opportunity through that IPI process to basically look to better enable Papakāinga and other housing choices throughout the district, amend the current district plan rules that have been seen as a barrier, and to ensure that we've got efficient use of existing urban environment. Just by a bit of background, the previous Papakāinga rules had been in place since 2016. At the time, they were considered enabling by council planners for Papakāinga development, but since 2016, we hadn't seen the level of development for Papakāinga that we had anticipated. And then, as I said before, the government had since urged us to review our Papakāinga provisions as part of the IPI when we incorporated the MDRS. So, council planners at the time thought that the previous rule framework was enabling, but there simply hadn't been the level of development that we expected to see. So what did we do for Plan Change 9? We engaged support of the experienced consultants from Barker and Associates who helped us through the process. The next point, which I think is probably the key one, we established early on a mana whenua Papakāinga working group, which basically helped us workshop the various issues, like what has worked well, what hasn't worked, and basically asking mana whenua, why have we not seen the level of development anticipated? So through those workshops, we were able to tease out the issues and develop and workshop the issues and options paper, and then develop a new planning framework, including the new rules and performance standards. And then the mana whenua working group was also key in reviewing and analysing the submissions that we received, and also the further submissions. So they were with us through the whole process from start to finish. So a couple of what did we achieve, I guess, through the plan change. There was a previous rule in our plan that stated that Papakāinga had to be located adjacent to a marae, and that was seen as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, barrier for Papakāinga development in our district. So we removed that requirement, so where Papakāinga can now be developed throughout the district and not just adjacent or adjoining a marae. We've incorporated more enabling density standards. So Papakāinga in the rural zone is permitted up to a certain number of houses. So 10 houses permitted in our rural 1 and 5 in our rural 2 and rural 3. Anything beyond that triggers resource consent, but up to 10 and 5 are permitted activity. We also acknowledge that obviously Papakāinga is not just housing, and we want to encourage those non-residential activities. So our provisions and our definition had been widened to include not just housing, but those ancillary non-residential activities. So what have been our key learnings and lessons? The first one is essentially the main one we've heard a lot this morning is council's role in enabling Papakāinga is only a very, very small part of the puzzle. We can do what we can through the district plan and enable it as much as we can, but the journey, I guess, only just begins at that stage. It was critical for us to have support and endorsement from mana whenua throughout the process, and also acknowledging the unique constraints of Rotorua. We have a very unique district in terms of our constraints, and that was acknowledged in our provisions that we drafted. Internal and external stakeholders are key to the success. So not just mana whenua, but also obviously the likes of the Māori Land Court, TPK, regional councils, all those key agencies and key external stakeholders as well. And off the back of what whangarei have also developed, we're also looking to develop a Rotorua-focused Papakāinga toolkit, acknowledging, as I said before, the planning rules are just only very part of the process. There's obviously everything from financing through to management of the trust, and then building consents, resource consents. So we're looking to develop a Papakāinga toolkit now that will incorporate all those facets of the process. So I know I speak fast, and apologies, I went through that pretty quick, but keen to answer any questions or have any further discussion on that. And apologies for the microphone at the start.